Tottenham 4, Manchester City 0. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but Tottenham Hotspur 4, Manchester City 0. And I think we all had a funny feeling that Tottenham would win. But to win this convincingly is incredible. Is it a moment in time for Pep Guardiola, or has he actually been found out? Now, as poor as Manchester City were, I want to talk about how brilliant and decisive and clinical, brave Tottenham were. First up, let's talk about Ange Postecoglou, as people like to call him. He got his tactics, squad selection absolutely spot on. He took out his top goal scorer this season, Brennan Johnson, and brought in James Maddison, pushed Kulusevski out wide, and it worked a treat. Now, let's quickly talk about the tactics, and amazed at the tactics and what they did and how brave they were. Look at James Maddison's average positioning. He's almost playing in that defensive left half-back position. Now, this was crucial to everything Tottenham did, and James Maddison was a main component of this. Look at how deep he is receiving the ball. Now, when he receives a ball, he's always front-facing, and that's what I love. His body language was unbelievable yesterday. And that's probably because he was full of confidence because he scored 2 goals. But what they did brilliant was just open up the space against Manchester City and then exploited it. Having James Maddison dropping so deep, receiving off the left-back, allowed Dominic Solanke just to pick up those pockets of space, receive the ball on the half turn. What Ange wanted to do was have Kulusevski receiving the ball in dangerous areas where he can hurt Manchester City, and Tottenham did that brilliantly yesterday. And there was a method to this madness, having James Maddison dropping so deep, having Son pulling out wide, having Solanke dropping deep to receive the ball. It was all to create overloads and to create space on the right-hand side. They were almost suffocating Man City into pressing into that left-back position, and that just opened up the pitch. And when the pitch opened up, they were brave in the runners, they were brave in the ball playing ability, they were brave in their decisions, and James Maddison got every decision on the ball correctly. And I thought every player on the pitch yesterday for Tottenham played their part. I thought Basuma was brilliant despite picking up a yellow card in the first 13 seconds. He channeled his aggression, wonderful reading of the game. Solanke's hold-up play, his ability to find pockets of space. Kulusevski's coming in off the right-hand side. Every single player played their part yesterday. And Man City just couldn't match their intensity, their tactics. Man City looked broken. And I'm sorry, but if you start a midfield 3, Rico Lewis, Gundogan, and Bernardo Silva, you're asking for trouble. They lack legs, they lack personality, they lack physicality. They just got overrun and cut through like a hot knife through butter. And I know for a fact, in the back of Pep Guardiola's mind, he would have been thinking that before the game. Pep Guardiola is an unbelievable manager, unbelievable tactician. Now, when you play football, profiles build partnerships, and there's no profiles amongst those 3 that can build any partnerships to dominate in midfield. And I want to get on to Manchester City without bringing up Rodri, because I think that's a pitiful excuse. One man does not make a team. They lack intensity, they lack bravery, they lack any sense of structure. They lack belief. Everything negative is everything about Manchester City at the moment. Now, I'm not here just to sit here and really get at Manchester City, but I'm just speaking the obvious. Anyone with a brain and 2 eyes could see that Manchester City's midfield would get overrun yesterday. That was Manchester City's worst defeat in 21 years. It's the first time Pep Guardiola's ever lost 5 games in a row. And who's up after the Champions League? Liverpool. Now, if they don't get a result against Liverpool, and I don't think they will, now, if they don't get a result, they can kiss the title goodbye. But if they do get a result, like I say, I don't think they will, that just opens up the door for Arsenal to drive through, opens up the door for everybody to potentially say, can Man City come back? And if they do come back and win this title, I don't think they will. But if they do, this will be undoubtedly Pep Guardiola's Manchester City's best title win today. But I think Manchester City's problems start from the transfer window. The idea of bringing in Mateo Kovacic, Nunes, bringing back Gundogan just isn't good enough for where Manchester City want to be. They're good players and they'll do well in decent sides in Europe. But if you want to be the pinnacle, if you want to reach the top, if you want to win Premier League titles, Champions League titles, then that quality of player just isn't good enough. But it looks like Man City are going through a transition moment, and it needs to be a good one. They need to get the next few transfer windows right, and I would love to do a video on it. I want to know your thoughts. Would you like to see a video on how Manchester City can boost their squad and get back to winning ways? If you would, drop us a comment in the below. But getting back to Manchester City, I think the players, as well as Pep Guardiola, need to take accountability. They lacked fight, they lacked hunger, they lacked intensity, they lacked aggression, they lacked structure. They were allowing bodies just to run off them. It was all too easy for Tottenham. Tottenham made it look so comfortable at the Etihad yesterday. It was frightening. For anybody sitting on the fence thinking, is this a crisis? Is it not a crisis? This is a crisis for Manchester City. Fair enough, you get beat 1 or 2 games in a row because that happens. That's sport. That's football. You win and lose. When you get battered, and I mean battered, at home against Tottenham, as well as losing 4 games prior to this, Tottenham literally started this bad run and have ended this bad run. That, I'm sorry, is a crisis. This is an aging Manchester City squad. They're not getting any better. They're not getting any younger. It's time to get rid of all those. I know they've done magnificently well in Manchester City, but it's time for a refresher. It's time for some youthful exuberance in that squad, some energy, some hunger, a want, a will to win. It's not like they're losing games by small margins. They're losing games deservingly. Sporting deserved to beat. Bournemouth deserved to beat them. Tottenham deserved to beat them twice. Now, the book stops with the manager, but the players out there have enough experience to really get together and win games of football. Rodri and Ruben Diaz are massive misses. Nobody's talking about Ruben Diaz. He structures everything together. He commands that back line. So he is a big miss. But where's Kyle Walker? Where's John Stones? We need to see them stepping up and delivering when the chips are down. But look, they've got Claudio Acerbi coming in January. He's going to spark a little bit of energy, a little bit of creativity in that side. I've got no doubt. What I hope is Pep Guardiola doesn't transform him into a system player, because he's so innovative, he's so manipulative on the ball and off the ball. He needs to be given that freedom to express himself. And look, he's not the finished article. He's very young as well. But I do feel, as well as their defensive woes, that they're lacking that spark of light in the attacking sense. So where does City go from here? Because I've always said this, the way you beat City is by being brave, being aggressive, being on the front foot, trying to beat them at their own game. Because if you allow City the ball just to sit back, they will eventually break you down 9 times out of 10. But if you get at City, they're vulnerable. I've always said this. And it's good to see that managers are brave enough to do it now, because it makes the Premier League exciting. But I want to know your thoughts. Do you think it's a crisis? Do you think it's just a moment in time? Let us know in the comments below. But I want to thank each and every one of you for following us, so watching any video. I really do appreciate it, because it supports us tremendously. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And yeah, I'm already excited for the European games next weekend, but I want to know your thoughts. This is a big moment. This is a big test for Pep Guardiola. Now we will see what minerals he does have.